Hi, and welcome back to Rain or Shine Gardening. I'm Katie, and today is the start of a big project I've been looking forward to for a very long time, and that's redoing my anniversary rose garden, or I should say our anniversary rose garden, because it's my husband Justin and my anniversary garden. We just did a video about our anniversary rose garden in September, so I will link that below if you didn't get a chance to check it out. In summary, we buy a rose together according to that year of our anniversary and the theme, and then we plant it in our garden. So it kind of has been planted wherever there's been space or an opening without much of a plan. And we are 13 years into it as of this year. And so it's just a little disorganized for how I want my garden. And so I've been thinking about ways to make improvements to the rose garden and kind of make it make more sense. And we're going to start that project today. Today is going to be planning. I'm going to explain kind of what I have in mind. And then our next video, we do have to move quite a few things and dig out all of our roses in order to kind of prepare the space that we want to be able to reinstall the roses and the pathway and everything that's going to be going in. So today, I'm going to take you through and show you some of the areas that we're thinking about changing, talk about some of the things that we need to move in order to have that happen, and we'll jump right into showing you that process. Before we start, though, I did want to mention that one of the big reasons that we want to change some of the format of where the roses are in the garden is because they're really hard to get to right now. I'm sitting here on my sunset bench. This is kind of in the front of this garden bed area and it looks out towards the sunset. And so that's why we call it our sunset bench. We can sit here and watch the beautiful sunsets. Right now, with where the roses are, you can see some of them behind me that are getting pretty big. It's hard to get back there. We don't have a clear pathway. You have to have garden shoes or boots on to really get back in. I planted a lot of annuals kind of in this area this year, so you almost have to walk on top of them to get to the roses. So they don't get the level of care that they need. The black spot has been not maybe quite as bad this year as years past. But also just deadheading the roses, kind of keeping maintenance on weeds and things like that. It's just hard to get to, so it doesn't happen. And by creating a new format and layout for my anniversary rose garden, it's going to be not only easier to get to cut the roses and make bouquets, but it's also going to be easier to get to the roses to continue the maintenance on them and ensure that they remain healthy. So I will walk you through some of our plan that we have for our rose garden redo. Let's get started. This is an area that we redid this year. So we expanded the garden beds and installed the brick border. The grass had browned out quite a bit over the summer, but it's starting to get some green back. And you'll see this archway here that we have. It's reinforced with some rebar because it's actually not a very strong trellis, but it is pretty where it is. And actually frames out this other garden bed that I have underneath of my snowball viburnum tree. And the cafe au lait and the asters look beautiful over, kind of framed by this archway right now. But here on the right side of the archway, I have quite a few annuals planted. I do have a couple perennials in there, but annuals for the most part. So we have a lot of zinnias and then lemon coral sedum, and then some petunias, super petunias, and some salvias and things like that. So for the project coming over on this side, what we're planning on doing is actually creating a little pathway back behind this archway. And so the entrance to it will be right about here. And you can see there's actually some grass coming up in this bed that I need to get control on so that it doesn't take over. But this is where I'm going to be putting the entrance to the pathway. And I will probably flank the pathway with maybe two shrubs on each side, maybe some boxwoods or some little smaller cypress or something like that. But this is where the pathway will start. So you will step over into it and then there will be flagstone. And my goal is to have it kind of wind around this area. So you'll enter down here and then kind of wind around and walk back through this area. And right now there's nowhere to walk. So we will be installing some flagstone pathway. But you'll see to get through there, we will have to remove quite a few things. So there's some hostas and another little green shrub. I don't even know what it is because it was there when we moved in. We do have an azalea over here, but you can see how badly it's been inflicted by spider mites. And it was also here when we moved in, and I don't really like the color of it. It always kind of struggles with spider mites, so I am planning on trying to hack that back and trying to remove it as best we can. So this is where the pathway will start to the rose garden. And then it will kind of, I'll probably have to move some of these conifers that I planted this year, which is okay. They're in the ground, they've been growing, they've been doing well. So I might have to relocate some of those. But the pathway will kind of swoop around and then go back this way where that hosta is. And on either side of the pathway, I'm going to be planting our anniversary roses. And this is another pathway that we put in this year, and we never even got the flagstone completely settled. But to kind of give you an idea of what we want the pathway to look like, it'll look something similar to this. And so you can imagine having the flagstone pathway to walk on and then having roses on both sides. We don't want to crowd the pathway because we don't want people poked by the thorns and things like that. So we will definitely give enough space on both sides. But to give you an idea of what we're going for, I'm hoping that it will turn out really similar to this. Here's a closer up view of those hostas I was talking about. And these were here when we moved in. They got a little bit sunburned because they're not in complete shade, but I do like the design of them. They need to be divided because they have grown so much in the last couple of years. They used to be really small. So my plan is to dig these out and create a bunch of hostas, and I'll probably overwinter them in pots, and keep them over on my holding tank side of the working garden over the winter. And then I'll see what comes back and pops up in the spring, and then I'll plant those out. So these are coming out, but I am going to try to salvage them. And then you'll see all of the different roses that I have here. And I do have little name tags for each of them. So as I dig them out, it's going to be important to me to make sure that I remember which is which by keeping them with their tags. Now, my roses have kind of gone wild. I have not been keeping up on deadheading them. This one in the back has powdery mildew pretty badly, and the rose hips are forming on this one specifically. I don't know if you can see that, but they're getting pretty big there and pretty tall. I know that it's not ideal to cut back my roses right now because it's going to try to promote them to get new growth, and then that growth will be tender over the winter. But I really don't want them to be huge and hard to work with either. So it's a little bit of a tough decision for me, and it doesn't end up working out, then it's an opportunity for us to go shopping and find a different rose for that year. So this is, let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 roses in this area. And those will all be formatted differently once the pathway goes in. But part of my work in my next video of digging out and prepping the area for the pathway will involve cutting these back, keeping the labels with them, and getting them in some cans while I wait to be able to plant them again. So here I'm on the other side of those roses that we were just looking at, and you can see some of the Gara and then some annuals that I have planted down in here. These are all going to be removed in prepping this area for the new pathway to go in. And the new pathway is actually going to go behind the hydrangea. So I do have a bluebird hydrangea back in here, and you can see some of these big new branches that are poking out. That's the bluebird hydrangea. And then I have a peony. You can see some of the leaves there that's coming up. And then these big bloom heads are actually from a limelight standard that's flopping pretty bad right now. It's at the end of the season and got some really heavy rain on those huge blooms. But what I'm planning on doing is having the pathway kind of sneak around behind those and then lead you out into this area to swoop around. So I'm going to sneak around in the back there and show you what the vantage point is. Okay, I'm here by my front entryway now, and you can see I've got a little row of hostas leading out into the front yard. This is the other side of that hydrangea standard, my limelight. And then I've got this little area where my hose hookup is. And then my plan, I'll probably move this planter just so it's not in the way. But my plan is to have this kind of become the little entrance way to the secret rose garden back here. So you can see the roses over on that other side and the archway that I was just at over in this area. I've got some iris I'm going to need to move and dig out as well. But here I have the bluebird hydrangea. So this is what I'm going to have to maybe cut back a little bit. And the pathway might narrow. So the roses probably won't start here. I've got a little bit of a ground cover right here too. It's got pretty little blue flowers when it blooms. So the roses won't probably start here. They're probably going to start once we get out more into this area past the hydrangea. But this is all going to be the rose garden. And my idea is to have the pathway kind of curve out this way and then curve back around. So I might even be able to put my little new Japanese maple that I got right here in this area. Don't look at all the weeds. Look at the iris needs to be cleaned up. I've got grass coming up. I've got a big dandelion there. Obviously, I have not been maintaining this, just knowing that I need to come in soon and tear all of it out. But lots of color right now in the garden. That is my plan for this area. And hopefully this gives you kind of a good before view of all of this area as well. So that's my sunset bench. We sit on that and look out in front of us at the sunset across the road. And I can't wait until this is all set up to be our beautiful little rose garden. I imagine there being some low kind of creeping ground cover under the roses. And then they kind of line both sides so we can get to them easily for maintenance. We can get to them easily to cut and make bouquets. I can't wait for this to be finished. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're going for with our rose garden redo. I'm already thinking about what we're going to tackle first. I think what's going to be really important is to have kind of a clean slate going into it, so I can really imagine some of the pathway lines and kind of play around with that. So I'm thinking one of the first things is going to be to pull out all of the annuals that are in here. Even though they've still got a few blooms left, it might be kind of hard to pull them out, but I think it'll be important for a part of the project, is just to kind of get those taken out and create that clean space, that clean slate to start the project. And then we have those hostas that I need to dig out and kind of put in some pots. They needed to be divided anyway, so it's a good opportunity. Some of those conifers that I planted earlier in the season I know need to come out, and we might replant those in different areas around here. Getting this project done in the fall is going to be great because it will allow me to utilize any of those plants I have in my holding tank in this area. It'll give my roses a chance to kind of settle in before we get any kind of hard freezes. And it will be ready in the spring for some new underplanting and some new roses, some new garden areas. So I'm really excited to get started on this. I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm looking forward to it. And maybe I can rope some people in to help me out for my birthday. Sometimes my family asks, what do you want to do for your birthday? I'm like, hey, everybody bring a shovel. Let's have a work party. So, looking forward to this project. It's going to be really special when it's done too. I can't wait to take you along with me as well. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video so that it will bring you back for the future project videos for our rose garden redo. And we'll see you in the next one to start some of the digging. So rain or shine, I will see you next time.